The relentless beeping of the machines fills the sterile room, a steady artificial rhythm reminding me that life and death are separated by the thinnest of threads. I sit by his bedside, my fingers wrapped around his limp, fevered hand, feeling the weight of his fragility against my palm. The smell of antiseptic and something metallic lingers in the air, clinging to my clothes, my skin, my very breath. I should be home, sleeping, eating, living, but I can't leave. What if he wakes up and I'm not here? What if the moment I step away, the thread snaps? Nurses come and go, murmuring instructions, adjusting IV lines, replacing fluids. I barely notice them anymore. My world has shrunk to the rise and fall of his chest, the slow flutter of his eyelids when he drifts in and out of consciousness. I whisper reassurances, promises, prayers, though I don't know if he hears me. I tell him stories, our stories, as if reminding him of what we have will be enough to pull him back from the abyss. I smooth damp hair from his forehead, spoon broth between his cracked lips, wipe away his pain like it's my own, because it is. The exhaustion gnaws at my bones, but I don't let it win. I stay. I stay through the endless nights, through the doctor's measured words, through the tightening grip of fear whenever a test result arrives. My life outside these walls fades, but it doesn't matter. I am his anchor, his guardian, his lifeline. The thought of losing him, of sitting in this room alone with nothing but the sound of those machines, steals the air from my lungs. I press his fingers to my lips as if that simple touch could tether him here, to me. And then, finally, light breaks through the darkness. A test comes back with good news. His color returns. His body strengthens. And one morning, I wake up to find his eyes on me. Really on me, for the first time in weeks. A shaky smile, a whispered thank you. And just like that, we are on the other side. I feel it in my chest, in my soul. We survived this together. Or at least, that's what I believe. Recovery is slow, but I take it one step at a time. His steps, not mine. I relearn the routine of his care, adjusting pillows, measuring medications, coaxing him to eat just a little more. He leans on me, literally and figuratively, and I bear his weight without hesitation. Every small victory is ours to share. His first unassisted breath, the moment he walks a few steps without shaking, the day he finally laughs again. It fills me with something raw, something deep. This is love, isn't it? The kind that doesn't hesitate, doesn't count the cost. At home, the scent of disinfectant still lingers on my skin, even after long showers. The echoes of the hospital, the rhythmic beeping, the whispered urgency of doctors still haunt my mind. Some nights, I wake up reaching for him, my heart hammering, certain that something is wrong. But then I hear him breathing beside me, steady, alive, and I let out a breath I didn't realize I was holding. I sink back into the mattress, exhausted but grateful. We made it. I tell myself that over and over. We made it. The world outside begins to seep back in. Phone calls, bills, the obligations I pushed aside to be at his bedside. But I don't resent it. If anything, I feel stronger, more certain. I fought for him, stood by him, sacrificed pieces of myself for him, and now we can move forward together. There's a quiet sense of triumph in that, a reassurance that this was more than just survival, this was proof of something unbreakable. One evening, as I help him settle into bed, he looks at me differently. Not with the raw desperation he once did, but with something softer, something almost distant. He thanks me again, his voice steady this time, and I smile, brushing my fingers against his cheek. He doesn't have to thank me. I did what anyone would do for the person they love. What else was I supposed to do? I don't realize, not yet, that I am answering a question I never thought I'd have to ask. The first time he steps outside on his own, I watch from the doorway, arms wrapped around myself to keep from reaching out. He moves slowly, cautiously, but there's something different in his posture, something lighter. I tell myself it's relief, that after all the suffering, he's finally breathing in the world again. I should feel joy for him, for us. Instead, a strange unease curls in my stomach, something I don't yet understand. At dinner, he talks about the future, about what comes next. His voice carries an excitement I haven't heard in so long, and I drink it in, convinced that we are on the same page. New plans, new beginnings, maybe even a vacation, just the two of us. I reach for his hand, squeezing it, needing him to feel what I feel. But his fingers twitch slightly, as if the contact surprises him. He recovers quickly, smiling, but a cold prickle runs down my spine. The exhaustion hasn't left me, even now. I still wake up at odd hours, checking on him before my mind registers that we're home. I still instinctively glance at my phone, waiting for test results that will never come. The weight of those endless nights hasn't lifted, but I tell myself it will. It has to. Love carries its burdens, and I carried mine willingly. Now all I want is to believe that he would do the same for me. And yet, something lingers in the air, an invisible shift, like the faintest crack in a mirror. It's not obvious, not yet, but a part of me, deep and instinctual, already knows something is coming. I just don't see it clearly, not yet. It happens on a Tuesday, ordinary, unremarkable, until it isn't. The kitchen is warm with the scent of coffee and something familiar, something safe. I almost don't notice the way he hesitates before sitting down, how he exhales slowly as if steadying himself. Then he says my name, soft, deliberate, Mark, and something inside me stills. I set my mug down, fingers tightening around the ceramic. His voice is too careful, too measured. It reminds me of the way doctors deliver bad news, gently, as if softening the blow makes it hurt less. My mind races ahead of his words, searching for something, anything, that makes sense. Maybe it's about his health, maybe another complication. But then he looks at me, really looks at me, and I know. I need to enjoy my life now. The words land sharp and clean, cutting straight through me. For a second, I think I've misheard. The absurdity of it almost makes me laugh, almost. But his face is calm, resolved. He means it. A thick, heavy silence stretches between us, pressing down on my chest. My tongue feels foreign in my mouth, my breath too shallow. What are you saying? I ask, but I already know. He doesn't flinch, doesn't fumble for excuses, or soften the blow. Instead, he leans back in his chair, hands folded neatly on the table, like a man delivering a well-rehearsed speech. Mark, I can't waste any more time. The words are smooth, practiced, as if he spent days, weeks even, perfecting the way they'll leave his mouth. I blink at him, trying to reconcile the man in front of me with the one I cradled, through his weakest, most desperate moments, the one who whispered my name in the dark when the pain was unbearable. I search his face, looking for guilt, hesitation, even an ounce of shame. But there's nothing, just quiet certainty. A strange sound escapes me, half laugh, half choke. After everything, the words come out raw, splintered. My mind floods with memories, the endless nights in the hospital, the prayers, the battles I fought for him as if they were my own, the exhaustion, the sacrifice, the fear. I poured myself into his survival. And now what? Now he's strong enough to walk away? I wait for him to correct himself, to realize what he's just said, to see the wreckage he's leaving in his wake. But he only exhales, like a man unburdened. And in that moment, something inside me shifts. The shock is still there, the heartbreak pressing like a fist in my chest. But underneath, something else is stirring, something hot, something sharp. The rage doesn't come all at once. It simmers, slow and steady, just beneath the surface. I stare at him, at the man I once believed was mine. And all I see now is a stranger who sat across from me, took everything I gave, and decided without hesitation that I was no longer necessary, that my purpose had been served, that I was disposable. He doesn't say it outright, but I hear it in every syllable. Used, done, over. I was good enough to keep him alive, but not good enough to stay. Something inside me cracks, not in the way a woman breaks, not in the way he expects. No tears, no pleading, no desperate grasping for what's already gone. Instead, I go still. My hands rest on the table, steady. My breath evens. I lift my chin, studying him, memorizing every line of his face, every flicker of emotion, or lack thereof. He expects a reaction, a fight, maybe even a scene. I won't give him that. Instead, I smile, slowly, deliberately. And for the first time, I see it, the briefest flicker of something uncertain in his eyes. I lean back in my chair, tilting my head just slightly, watching him. His confidence wavers, just for a second, just enough. He expected devastation, fury, anything but this quiet, unreadable calm. I can almost hear the gears turning in his head, trying to make sense of why I'm not breaking. I inhale slowly, steadying my voice, letting the words come out smooth, unhurried. After everything I did for you, David? Not a question. A fact. I let the weight of it settle between us. His throat bobs as he swallows, but he doesn't look away. He still thinks he holds the power here, that this is his decision. I reach for my coffee, taking a slow sip, savoring the moment. I hope you enjoy your new life, I say, my voice soft, almost kind. But you won't have much left to enjoy. The color drains from his face. There it is, the first flicker of fear. He blinks once, twice, his lips part, but no words come. I let the silence stretch, watching as confusion flickers into something else, unease. He shifts in his chair, suddenly restless, suddenly uncertain in a way he wasn't before. I tilt my head slightly, studying him as if I too am just now seeing him clearly. While you were fighting for your life, I say, my voice smooth, deliberate, I was protecting mine. I let that settle, let him chew on it for a moment before I deliver the final blow. Our assets, the house, the savings. I pause, savoring the way his brows knit together, the dawning realization creeping in like a slow poison. All in my name now. His breath stutters, his eyes widen. There it is, the shift, the moment he understands. He thought he was untethering himself, freeing himself from the weight of me. But the truth crashes over him like a wave, cold and merciless. For the first time, David is the one left helpless, and I have never felt stronger. He exhales sharply, a forced breath, like he's trying to steady himself. His hands twitch on the table, fingers curling slightly. That's not possible, he says, but his voice lacks its usual certainty. It's softer, almost hollow. I smile, slow, deliberate. Oh, but it is. I let the words linger, watching the way they sink in. While you were too weak to lift a glass of water, I was signing papers, meeting with lawyers, making sure that when you got better, when you decided you were done with me, you wouldn't be walking away with anything I built. His throat bobs as he swallows, eyes darting as if searching for an escape, a loophole, anything. He finds nothing, because there is nothing. I spent years making sure you wouldn't die. I rise from my chair, moving slowly, deliberately. The power shift is almost tangible, thick in the air between us now. Now you can spend years making sure you don't starve. He doesn't speak. Can't. His world is unraveling, thread by thread, and I am the one pulling the strings. I don't wait for him to catch up. I turn, stepping away, the sound of my heels against the floor, the only thing breaking the silence. For the first time in years, I walk away from him not broken, not begging, free. I don't look back, not once. I hear him behind me, his breath uneven, the scrape of his chair against the floor, the stammer of disbelief on his lips. But I keep walking. The front door looms ahead, and with every step, the weight on my shoulders lessens. Outside, the air is crisp, electric against my skin. The world moves on, oblivious, unaware that somewhere inside that house a man is crumbling, a man who once believed he was untouchable. My hands tremble, not with fear, not with regret, but with something else. A release. A reclamation. I reach into my pocket, fingers closing around the papers I tucked there this morning. His bank account's frozen, the house deed in my name. The last remaining ties severed. The months of preparation, the quiet maneuvering, all leading to this moment. He thought he had time. He thought I would always be waiting. A sound escapes me, a small, breathy laugh. I taste freedom on my tongue, feel it hum beneath my skin. And inside that house, David is learning the one lesson he never expected: the cost of betrayal. Behind me, the door bursts open. Footsteps hurried, uneven, hit the pavement. Mark! His voice is different now, no longer smooth, no longer in control. He calls my name again, but it doesn't hold the same weight it once did. I stop, not because I owe him anything, but because I want him to see me like this, standing tall, steady, untouchable. Slowly I turn, meeting his gaze. His face is pale, his breath shallow. He looks small now, stripped of the confidence that once made him seem invincible. "There has to be something left for me," he says, desperation creeping into his voice. "You wouldn't just leave me with nothing." I arch a brow, letting the moment stretch, letting him feel the full force of what he never saw coming. Then, with a calmness that unsettles even me, I say, "I left you exactly what you gave me." His lips part as if to argue, to plead, but no words come, because he knows. He knows I was the one who stayed, the one who sacrificed, the one who held him up when he was at his weakest. And now he stands alone. He shakes his head, as if denial could rewrite reality. "Mark, wait. We can talk about this." His voice is raw now, stripped of its earlier certainty. It almost sounds like regret, almost. I tilt my head, considering him, savoring the way his world crumbles piece by piece. "Talk?" I echo, letting the word roll off my tongue. "Like you talked to me? Like you sat me down at that kitchen table and decided my worth was conditional?" His jaw tightens, his hands flex at his sides. He wants to argue, to spin this into something softer, something forgivable. But he can't, because the truth is too heavy now, pressing down on him like the weight of every sacrifice I made. I take a slow step forward, just close enough to see the panic flickering in his eyes. "I gave you everything," I say, my voice low, measured, "and you threw me away." I pause, let the silence settle between us. "So tell me, David, how does it feel to be disposable?" He flinches. It's subtle, but I see it, and for the first time, I know he understands. I turn without another word, and this time, when I walk away, I don't stop.